Chapter 8. Healing. 6 months later. Angelo! I'm coming, Piccola. Katya was crying again, calling out my name. When I reached her room, I whispered, I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here. I lay beside her and she immediately burrowed against me. I held her until she went back to sleep. It happened once or twice a week, but it was less than before. She was getting better, slowly. When she first started having the bad dreams, I asked her to tell me about them, and it was always the same thing. She was afraid of losing me, too. I promised her each time that I would never leave her. It may not have been the best thing, but it was the only thing that would calm her. Now the dreams had slowed down, and I was sure she would start to feel more secure. A few months later, the dreams stopped completely, and I thanked God every day for sending her peace. I also prayed that Katya would have a normal, healthy life, and that she would continue to grow into the amazing young woman I knew she would become, find love, and be happy. I was so grateful to have this sweet angel in my life, and I hoped that divine intervention would always guide me to do what was best for her. There were days that I missed Suzanne, and the emotional ache that I thought had faded would return. When those moments hit, they were painful, and the same questions would circle through my mind. Had I done all I could? Had I loved her enough? Did I give her the best life I could? Was I a good enough husband to her? Then I would immediately punish myself again for not counseling with God before I married Suzanne. Sometimes I became so weighed down by these questions that the grief felt consuming. Then Katya would approach me with sad eyes, put her arms around me, kiss my cheek, and say, I love you, Angelo. You're the best person in the world. The fog would immediately lift, and I would feel whole once more. Somehow she always knew and was there, like the Lord was working through her to comfort me. Her presence always reminded me that I still had so much to be grateful for. Katya always accompanied me on my fishing days with Lee and Kate, and they were a comfort to us both. Katya absolutely loved it. She possessed a patient nature, so she made the perfect fisher. She was not squeamish at all about baiting a hook, and she actually loved the feel of worms squirming in her hand, not bothered by dirt in the least. When Suzanne was alive, I could never get her to come. Like everything else I suggested, was always an excuse, so I finally stopped asking. Kate, who had been unable to have a child, had just found out she was pregnant. I was happy for them. For so long, it had saddened me to think of them never having the opportunity to be parents because I knew they would be great ones. On one of our fishing days, during a moment that Lee had Katya occupied, Kate softly told me of her reservations about Suzanne before we married. Like Sylvia, she kept quiet about seeing Suzanne and Lila entering a bar one night when she and Lee were out, because she thought it was none of her business. She apologized, and I assured her it was okay, that I was okay. Sadly, it seemed everyone managed to see the real Suzanne, everyone but me. Suzanne's parents kept in touch, checking on me and Katya. They still worried about me and felt a lingering sense of guilt for the way things ended between us. I told them I appreciated everything they had done and that we would be fine. Teresa said they would always consider me family. I appreciated that as well. They were still in a great deal of pain over the loss of their only child, yet their hearts were filled with kindness. They were good people. Katya and I spent a lot of time down by the lake. We would sit on the grassy bank and talk about a variety of things, movies, books, things I did when I was a boy. I told her about losing my mother in a car accident, and Katya always touched the scar just at my hairline. My hair now covered it so well, unless the person was really looking, you couldn't tell. I talked about moving from Italy and about losing my father to cancer. We talked about the hotel, and I shared my experiences working with my father. Do you still miss him? She asked one afternoon as she tossed bits of bread out to the ducks. Every day. She was thoughtful a moment. Do you think he would like me? He would love you as much as I do. She grinned. How much do you love me? Let me think. Well, do you know how big the universe is? Nobody does. It's endless, like it goes on forever. And that is how much I love you. Her eyes lit up and she crawled into my lap. She was still so small for her age. That's how much I love you too. I kissed her nose and hugged her close, inhaling the soft scent of her shampoo. Thank you, Padroda. A few weeks before Katya turned 11, she said she wanted to have a birthday party and invite the neighborhood kids. There were only about 10 kids that were near or around Katya's age, and she didn't know any of them well at all. All the trials she'd been through had not given her an opportunity to be the social butterfly I knew she could be. It's about time I got to know them, she said to me, her expression thoughtful. She had the most expressive eyes, and the gray had only deepened over the years. Her eyes were almond-shaped and framed by thick, dark lashes, the kind of lashes many women paid a fortune for. Her light voice had also deepened slightly, the tone of it a little raspy, which made her sound older than she was. Her hair, which had grown so much that it reached to the middle of her back, was pulled back in a loose ponytail. I remember having to brush and style her hair when she was younger. Sylvia taught me how, because I was at a complete loss as to what to do with a little girl's hair, and Katya's was especially thick. When Katya turned 8, I began teaching her, and just like everything else, she caught on quickly. So, you're ready for some socializing, huh? Yeah, I've put it off for too long. I chuckled. Well, I don't know. I might have to give this some thought. We can't have you turning into a socialite just yet. You will only be 11. Placing her hands on her hips, she gave me the look. Angelo DeLuca, if you don't stop. Okay, I said, throwing my hands up. I loved it when she turned into Little Miss Assertive, and I always tried not to laugh until she did, which usually didn't take very long. I will be happy to fund your grand soiree. Thank you. I guess we should make a list of people to invite and go shopping. Do you know what kind of cake you would like? Not really. All right, we will look around. When you decide on a theme, we can work on the cake. Katya quickly made her guest list. She added Sylvia because she had grown to love her so much. Sylvia was truly the only other adult she completely trusted. When the list was finished, we went to the party supply store. Katya browsed around a bit and finally decided she wanted the party to be a luau. Are you sure? I asked with a surprised smile. I kind of thought you would choose a Barbie theme or one of those popular boy bands you kids are so crazy over. No, I want to choose something fun that everyone would enjoy. Besides, I don't really like that kind of music anyway. I know, I said, giving her hair a gentle tug. I was just teasing my classical bluesy girl. You know it, she said, and I laughed. We bought an assortment of colorful leis, tiki torches, tropical tableware, tropical garland, hanging paper lanterns, party bags, and favors for the guest. We also bought a tiki piñata and enough candy to fill it. We then went to the bakery and ordered a large 2-layer sheet cake decorated with tropical flowers, hula dancers, and mini surfboards. As far as the food, to keep with the theme, we decided on pulled pork sliders, deli chips, and pineapple punch. After our shopping, we went to Katya's favorite Chinese restaurant for dinner. She was animated as she talked about the party and planned the games. I loved listening to her and watching her eyes light up. Once upon a time, I worried and wondered if she would ever be okay again, and though she still had moments of sadness, she was better. Her happiness was the most important thing in the world to me, and I would give her the moon if I could. There was nothing I would not do for her. Chapter 9. Growing Up. The day of the party arrived, and though Katya said she was excited and looking forward to it, she was in a somber mood. Sylvia came earlier in the day and helped us decorate the back patio. I picked up the mini buns and pulled pork from the restaurant where we'd placed the order, and Sylvia helped us make the sandwiches. While Katya went to change, I made the punch. Soon the guests started arriving, each bearing a gift for the birthday girl. Katya thanked each person for coming and said she was looking forward to getting to know everyone. She looked like a lady in her little peach sundress, with her thick curly locks pulled up away from her face, cascading down her back. She had a yellow flower in her hair that matched the lei hanging around her neck. I stood by, looking on like a proud papa as Katya entertained and mingled. They played some games, ate, and took turns whacking at the piñata. Jared, a boy that seemed to be taking a keen interest in Katya, finally broke it. The kids scrambled around, picking up candy. Then Katya opened her gifts. She received everything from clothing to jewelry to gift cards. Sylvia gave her an art set, which she loved, and I was sure she would soon have a masterpiece fit for a museum. Katya had received so many nice things, I wondered if my gift would pale in comparison to the others. I nervously watched her open the box. Then she smiled and cried, "Oh, Angelo!" and all my doubts fled in the face of her joy. It was a simple gift, really. Just a book about Bruce Lee, a book of show tunes, sheet music, a little pair of diamond earrings, along with the gift certificate for ear piercing, and a framed photo of us that Sylvia had taken that month before during one of my meetings. Katya was sitting next to me behind the desk, looking over some papers. We were laughing and joking about her taking over my job. It was a priceless picture, and as she threw her arms around my neck and kissed my cheek, whispering, "This was the best gift ever," I knew it meant just as much to her as it did to me. The photo represented stability, another sign that I would never abandon her. They played another game, then moved the party to the pool, but Katya did not swim. She and another girl just talked and watched the others. Twice I caught Jared winking at her before diving in. At my raised brow and wide grin, Katya gave me a saucy look in return. I chuckled and kissed her cheek before going to grab more sandwiches for her guest. A little over an hour later, the kids were done swimming, and I helped everyone locate their clothes among the piles lying by the pool and handed out towels for them to dry themselves. Everyone thanked Katya for inviting them, and she thanked them all once more for the gifts. After the party was over and everyone had gone, Sylvia stayed and helped me clean up. "It was a wonderful party, Angelo." "It was, but I could not have done it without you. Thank you for your help." "I'm glad I could be here." Since most of the food was eaten, who knew kids could eat so much? There were only a few sandwiches left over. I put them in a storage bag and stuck them in the fridge with the half pitcher of leftover punch. Then we took the garbage bag and gathered the few cups and plates left on the patio tables, as well as the wrapping paper and piñata debris. Finally finished, I stuffed the bags in the garbage bin and went inside. "You're doing an amazing job with her," Sylvia said as I walked her to the car. "Thanks." I heaved a deep sigh. I never imagined my life going the way it has. There have been trials that I never thought I would experience, but I've learned much. "And if you could go back and change things, would you?" "Truthfully, I don't know. There's been a lot of pain, but there's joy too. That joy is sitting upstairs in her room. I would never change that. I would not trade her." Sylvia smiled and kissed my cheek. "You're a good man, Angelo De Luca. Your father would be proud." She got into her car, and I waved as she drove away. "I hope so," I murmured, going back into the house. Since it was not even 8 o'clock yet, I decided to go for a swim. I went upstairs to change, stopping by Katya's room to talk about the party a little. Her door was open slightly, and I stuck my head in, surprised to find her lying on the bed, curled up. My surprise quickly turned to concern when I saw the tears running over the bridge of her nose. "Katya, what is it, Tesserina?" "It hurts." "What hurts, Piccola?" "My stomach." I pressed my hand to her forehead and cheek. "Do you feel sick?" "A little." "Maybe you ate a little too much." "But I hardly ate anything. And Angelo, there was blood when I went to the bathroom." Little alarm bells went off in my head, but they faded just as quickly as I realized what was happening. This was something I'd completely forgotten we would one day have to deal with. I caressed her cheek. "Do you think you could get up and change into your pajamas?" "Yes, but..." "Just lie here for a bit. I'll be right back, all right?" "Okay." I kissed her brow, whispering, "Be right back, Katusha." As I flipped on the light in the emergency storage room and grabbed the feminine products that Suzanne had purchased off the top shelf, I pondered and prayed for help in explaining to Katya what was happening to her body and the changes she would go through. Even though I knew it happened to many girls at this time, I thought it would be another year or two before Katya experienced it. On the way back to Katya's room, I stopped by the kitchen to grab a glass of water and a bottle of pain reliever from the cabinet. Sitting on the side of the bed, I gave her the medicine. Then, as simply as I could, I explained menstruation, told her about a woman's reproductive system and how her body was changing and preparing for womanhood. After asking some questions, she said she understood. I explained how to use the feminine products, thinking she would be embarrassed by having me discuss this with her, but she wasn't. She went to change and got into bed. She was still in pain, but it was starting to ease up a bit. She closed her eyes, and I sat with her for a bit, gently brushing the hair back from her face, caressing her brow. As the room darkened, she finally drifted off. "Ti amo, mi Katya," I whispered as I kissed her cheek and left her to sleep. My girl is growing up. As Katya grew, Kate stepped in and took her on girl shopping trips, helping her pick out things she needed as her body changed, things she should have had a mother helping her with. I tried, but I still had a lot to learn when it came to raising a teen, especially a girl. She sometimes had mood shifts, but not many. In that way, Katya was not like the average teenage girl at all. It was as if she'd learned to master her emotions along with everything else. The 2 times that she did have bad moments were awful, and I hated it because she would not talk to me at all, and we had always been able to talk about anything. Both times, she tearfully apologized to me the next day. Of course, I quickly forgave her. Then we went out for ice cream. I learned that nothing went over a girl's heart better than chocolate ice cream, or chocolate, period. She began to take over the cooking. Armed with an Italian-American cookbook, Katya became a very proficient cook, and I gladly turned the kitchen over to her. To seal her new status, I bought her a couple of chef's aprons, one red, one yellow, her 2 favorite colors, and a plaque to hang on the wall that said Katya's Kitchen. Many times we would even cook together, even making a few of the dishes on the hotel restaurant menu. Katya had a few sleepovers at Sylvia's place. Since Sylvia never had children of her own, she loved spending time with Katya and always had fun things planned. Sometimes Kate joined them and they made it a regular slumber party. Katya always came back the next day still giddy from the time she shared with them. I could never express to Sylvia and Kate how much their help and support meant. Because of them, my girl was slowly learning how to be a lady. Once a month, Katya and I volunteered in the soup kitchen at the homeless shelter. The people that came through the line loved seeing Katya dishing out food. Her sweet smile always brightened the day of everyone there. Of all the things that she could be doing, she chose to spend time there with me, serving others. She did hang out a little with her friends and was indeed a social butterfly, but she preferred doing things with me. Katya was a people magnet and could charm her way into the coldest heart, and charm she did. Sometimes we made our way to the residential part of the shelter, where we would visit with the children and read to them or play games. The families loved any attention their children could get, and we always came away wishing we could do more. We made donations and kept them all in our prayers. Katya even held a bake sale in the yard to raise money, and she put together fun care packages for the children. Because of her selfless heart and goodness of her spirit, she blessed the lives of all she came in contact with simply by being Katya. When Katya turned 15, she finished school, having taken the SAT and the ACTs and passing both with perfect scores. This was a major feat, and I was proud of her. She had come farther and accomplished more than I ever dreamed, and to reward her for doing so well, we took a trip to Italy and Greece. We had taken many trips through the years, but never out of the country. It was an amazing experience being back in my homeland. We spent the first few days in Rome, seeing the sights and visiting with people I knew growing up. I took Katya by my old home. The people living in the villa were friendly and had kept the place up well. They allowed us to come inside so I could show Katya around. She said it wasn't hard picturing me as a small boy roaming the halls there. We shared a few meals with two families I knew well, and Katya came to discover for herself how dinner time in Italian families is always a major event. Since all the grown children lived in the same area, they shared dinner with us. Thanks to my lessons through the years, Katya was fluent in Italian and could follow the conversations easily, despite how rapidly we spoke. We spent 2 days in Treviso, 2 days in Milan, the shopping capital, a day in Verona, and our last 2 days in Venice, saving it for last. Though Katya was used to living by the lake, waking to the view of the Grand Canal was a totally new and unique experience for her. Just as in the other cities, we filled the days in Venice shopping and touring the old churches, including the most famous church, St. Mark's Basilica. Both evenings we took a gondola ride down the canal, and watching Katya's eyes light up filled me with joy. Venice during the day was pretty cool, but at night it was amazing because the entire city was lit up like Christmas. On our final night in Italy, we stood on the Rialto Bridge. It was late, so it wasn't as crowded. I knew Katya wanted to savor every last moment, so we lingered. As we stood watching the gondoliers steering late-night passengers beneath us, I sensed her awe. This trip was a dream come true for her, and I hoped she would feel the same about Greece. "Thank you for bringing me, Angelo," she said. I wrapped an arm around her shoulders and smiled. "You're very welcome. I'm so happy I could share the country of my birth with you." I sighed, hugging her close. No matter how long I live in America, Italy will always be home. She looked up at me, not missing the melancholy filling my expression. "Do you miss living here?" "Always, but coming back makes me not so homesick." "Can we come back again sometime?" She grinned. "After all, we do have to make sure you don't get homesick." I laughed. "Thank you for being so concerned for my welfare." "I do my best." Chuckling, I said, "Si, tesara mia, we will come back sometime."